I became a mother at 23, but I never gave birth. And in the end, I lost the only child I ever loved, to a woman I never even met. Linda was 23 when she met Marcus. She had just finished her internship and was working 2 part-time jobs to keep herself afloat. Mornings at a pharmacy, evenings at a small cafe. She had no time for dating, no energy for games. Then Marcus walked in. He looked tired, not in a careless way, but in a life has beaten me up kind of way. A beautiful baby girl slept on his shoulder, wrapped in a faded pink blanket. He ordered tea, nothing fancy. They talked. He told her he was a single dad. The mother of his child had left, no explanation, no goodbye. He was struggling to keep up. The pain in his eyes was raw, real. And Linda, she saw herself in him. Lonely, kind, trying to survive. What started with casual texts turned into daily visits. Marcus always had Bella with him. A quiet, curious baby with the biggest brown eyes Linda had ever seen. One evening, Bella was fussy and hungry and Marcus looked overwhelmed. Linda offered to help, just once. She fed her, rocked her, and for the first time in weeks, Bella smiled. From then on, it became routine. Linda started bringing extra diapers from the pharmacy. She bought baby clothes with her small tips. Sometimes, she stayed late just to wash bottles and fold tiny onesies. Marcus would kiss her on the forehead and say, "I don't know how I'd do this without you." 6 months passed, then a year. Linda moved into Marcus's apartment to help with the baby and ended up running the whole home. She worked 2 shifts, came home to cook, helped Bella with homework, read bedtime stories, and still stayed up with Marcus, comforting him through his nightmares. He kept saying marriage would come soon, that he wanted to give her the ring she deserved. But rent was tight, work was slow, so Linda waited and waited. When Bella called her mama for the first time, her heart nearly burst. She's not mine by blood, Linda thought, but maybe love is stronger than blood. Linda turned 29. 6 years had passed. Still no ring. No thank you. Only new bills, new debts, new fatigue. Marcus had changed. He stayed out late, snapped easily, started hiding his phone. But Linda kept pushing through. Until that one rainy Thursday. She was looking for Bella's vaccination card in the drawer when she found an envelope. Court papers. Her hands trembled as she opened it. A woman, unknown to her, was requesting custody of Bella. And the respondent listed? Not Marcus. Another name. She flipped through the documents again, heart racing. Marcus was listed only as temporary guardian. Nothing biological. Nothing legal. He wasn't Bella's father. Linda stands in the hallway, holding the court papers, tears silently falling. Bella runs up and hugs her from behind, calling her mama. But Linda just stares into space, shattered. She sacrificed 7 years, her youth, her dreams, her body, but the child she raised was never even his. And now, someone else wants her back. I thought losing Bella was my biggest heartbreak, until I found out what Marcus really used me for. Linda waited until Bella was asleep before confronting Marcus. Her hands were still shaking from what she'd read, but she needed answers. "You told me she was your daughter," she whispered, holding the court papers. Marcus didn't look surprised, not even ashamed. He just sighed. "She is, Linda. Not by blood, but by heart. You know what we've been through." But she didn't buy it. Not anymore. "Why didn't you tell me? Why let me raise a child under a lie?" Marcus looked away. "Because I knew you'd leave if you knew the truth. And I couldn't raise her alone." Linda's knees nearly gave way. All this time, her sacrifice hadn't been honored. It had been used. She had put her life on hold for a man who never saw her as a partner, just the solution. Days later, Linda sat in the family courtroom, watching a woman named Renee explain how she gave up Bella when she was 19 and homeless and now wanted her back. Linda wanted to scream. "Where were you when she cried at night? When she needed love? I was there. Me." But the judge only looked at blood and law. Marcus had no legal standing, and neither did Linda. Her name wasn't on any birth certificate. No guardianship papers. She was invisible. And just like that, Bella was taken. No goodbye. No closure. Linda fell into darkness. She stopped going to work. Stopped eating. Her body felt heavy, like she had carried a child for 7 years and suddenly miscarried at the end. One night, while clearing out Bella's old drawings, a strange document fell out of a stack of folders, a business registration form. Linda's name was on it as a co-founder. She had never seen it before. She dug deeper and found loan documents. Her signature had been forged. Marcus had been using her identity to take out credit for a startup he never launched. He was not just a liar. He was a fraud. Linda didn't just let Marcus disappear. When she discovered the fraud, the loans in her name, the forged documents, she filed a police report. She pressed charges, not out of revenge, but out of self-respect. But Marcus? He was slippery. By the time the authorities got involved, he'd emptied his accounts and vanished. No known address. No legal trail. Linda sat in the back of the police station, holding her statement, and realized something painful. Justice may never come. But I won't be his victim forever. Linda never expected to hear from Renee again. But one afternoon, she got a long email. Not hostile, not defensive, just honest. Renee explained everything. Marcus loved me. I was selfish. I took advantage of that. They had dated years before Linda came into the picture. He fell hard. She didn't. When Renee got pregnant by someone else, she panicked. She told Marcus, and instead of walking away, he offered to raise the child as his own. Even when she said she couldn't be a mother, even when she disappeared after childbirth, Marcus never gave up on her. He raised Bella not just to be a good man, but to prove himself to a woman who didn't love him back. I reached out after years, Renee wrote. He was still there. Still holding on. Still waiting for me to come home. Linda stared at the message. Not in anger, but in numb disbelief. She had spent years loving a man who was already devoted to someone else, not just in secret, but in action. She was never Plan A. She was Plan B, who showed up and did the hard work. After Bella was taken and Marcus fled, Linda shut down. She stayed off social media, avoided old friends, cried silently in the shower. She couldn't look at children, couldn't walk past playgrounds, couldn't hear someone say mama without flinching. But what hurt most was that she hated herself for not seeing the signs, for giving too much, for staying too long. That guilt nearly broke her, but one day, Linda walked past a community center and saw a poster, Adult Women's Night Classes, Healing Through Creativity. She paused, walked past, then turned back. Inside that classroom, Linda rediscovered her voice. She started learning graphic design, then small business development. She started designing tote bags with words like, I am not my past, and soft doesn't mean weak. She built a small Etsy store called Scarred and Soft. People loved it. She wasn't just healing. She was creating something beautiful from the pain. David found her booth at a local fair. He bought a tote bag that read, Survive Gently, and asked, Did you make this? She nodded, I shy. It looks like it was made by someone who's seen war. And chose peace. That line stayed with her. He showed up at her next pop-up. Then the next. But she kept her walls up. She ignored his messages, made excuses, because she was terrified of love. Terrified that being soft again would mean being used again. But David waited. He never pushed, never pressured, just showed up. One evening, after a long day, Linda found him outside her booth packing up chairs. You're wasting your time with me, she said. David looked at her, not flinching. Then let me waste it. I'd rather waste it here beside you than anywhere else pretending I'm not hoping. She cried, not because she was sad, but because someone finally saw her without needing anything from her. Years later, on the morning of her wedding, Linda stood in front of her mirror. Alone. She didn't think of Marcus, or Bella, or court papers. She thought of herself. I forgive you, she whispered to her reflection, for loving too hard, for giving too much, for not knowing better. You did what you could. And now, you know better. She stepped into a new chapter, not because she was rescued, but because she rescued herself. They say love is sacrifice, but some sacrifices leave you empty. broken, forgotten by the very person you gave everything to. Linda's story is a reminder that loving someone should never mean abandoning yourself. She gave her time, her dreams, her identity, all in the name of love. And when it all fell apart, she had to start from nothing. But in that nothing, she found something powerful. Herself. Healing didn't come overnight. Trust didn't come easy. But eventually, love found her again. Not the kind that used her, the kind that honored her. And now, I want to ask you, have you ever lost yourself in the name of love? What did it cost you? And what did it teach you? Drop your story in the comments. And if this touched your heart, don't just scroll. Like, share, and follow for more stories that speak to the soul. You never know. The next story might just be yours.